Lucashin, let's get a divorce. I slammed the divorce papers in front of him. Tessa, are you crazy? For that woman, you want to divorce me? Disbelief flashed in his eyes. I sneered, not for her, but for myself. 3 years as a military wife, I've had enough of his mother's nitpicking, his sister's bullying, and that white moonlight flaunting herself in front of me after returning from abroad. Since they all think I'm not good enough for Lucashin, I'll give them what they want. But Chief Shun, when you realize the cost of losing me, I hope it's not too late for regret. The spring of 1978 arrived unusually early, and the apricot blossoms in the courtyard were in full bloom. I sat at the dressing table, staring at my haggard face in the mirror, holding a freshly typed divorce agreement. Tessalin, are you really sure about this? I said to my reflection in the mirror. The familiar sound of footsteps came from outside the door. Lucashin was back. I took a deep breath and stood up, walking toward the living room. Lucashin had just taken off his military uniform, exhaustion evident on his face. When he saw me, his brow furrowed slightly. Why aren't you asleep yet? I was waiting for you. I placed the divorce papers on the coffee table. There's something I need to discuss with you. He walked over and froze the moment he lowered his head and saw the word divorce on the papers. What does this mean? His voice was slightly hoarse. Exactly what it says. I sat down across from him. Lucashin, let's get a divorce. The living room was eerily quiet. Even the chirping of insects outside could be heard with unusual clarity. Lucashin slowly sat down, picked up the agreement, and read it word by word. His fingers trembled slightly. This man who had never retreated on the battlefield now looked like a helpless child. Why? After a long silence, he finally asked. I had already prepared my answer. Because I'm tired. His voice suddenly rose. Tessalin, you say you're tired. How have I ever wronged you? Looking at his flushed face, a wave of sorrow welled up in my heart. For 3 years, he truly hadn't wronged me. At least, that's how it appeared to outsiders, but some wounds, though not caused by him, were deepened by his weakness. Your mom made me wash her feet, saying a military wife should serve her mother-in-law. Where were you? Xiaozhen gave away all my dowry, saying I wouldn't need it anyway. Where were you? The day Xia Qi returned to the country, she told everyone I wasn't good enough for you. Where were you? I asked word by word, and Lucashin's expression grew increasingly grim. Tessa, I didn't know any of this. Right, you didn't know. I cut him off. You never know, because you simply don't care. Lucashin tried to stand up but sat back down again. There was a panic in his eyes that I had never seen before. No, Tessa, I care about you. You know that. What do I know? I sneered. That you always remind me to take care of your mom before every mission, or that you always check if Xiaozhen has been wronged the moment you return. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Suddenly, the sound of the door being pushed open came from outside, and Mother Shen walked in. She was wearing the new pajamas I bought for her, with a face mask still on. What's all this noise in the middle of the night? Don't you know Xiaozhen has work tomorrow? She caught sight of the agreement on the coffee table, a flicker of delight flashing in her eyes. What's this? I stood up and walked over to her. Mom, it's a divorce agreement. Luca and I are getting divorced. Mrs. Shen's face mask nearly slipped off. Really? Yes, really. That's great, she blurted out almost immediately, then realized it was inappropriate and quickly corrected herself. I mean, if you two really aren't suited for each other, then divorce might be for the best. Lucashin suddenly stood up. Mom, did I say something wrong? Mrs. Shen said righteously. Xia Qi is such a good kid. She's a college graduate, and even studied abroad. Unlike her. Enough. Lucashin's roar exploded through the living room. I laughed instead, laughing until tears streamed down my face. See that, Lucashin? This is the family you want me to endure. At that moment, Shenzhen also ran out of the room, her eyes brimming with excitement. Sister-in-law, are you really going to divorce my brother? Yes. I looked at this sister-in-law who was only 18. What, are you happy about it? Shenzhen blushed, but still mustered the courage to say, Xia Qi is coming back soon. She's so outstanding, she'd be perfect for my brother. The atmosphere in the living room instantly dropped to freezing point. Lucashin looked at me, then at his mother and sister, his face turning livid. Shut up. He pointed at Mrs. Shun and Shenzhen. This is between me and my wife. It's none of your business. Luca, how can you talk to Mom like that? Shenzhen said aggrievedly. We're only doing this for your own good. What's so great about Tessalin? Other than being somewhat pretty, in what way is she better than Sia Chi? That's right, Sia Chi is such a wonderful girl. If only her family hadn't objected back then. Mrs. Shun chimed in as well. Listening to them take turns belittling me, I actually felt a strange calm settle over me. Enough, I interrupted them. Since you all think I'm not good enough for Lukashen, I'll step aside for you. I walked up to Lukashen and extended my hand. Give me your seal. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Lukashen stared at me intently for a long moment before finally saying, Tessalin, are you really decided? Decided? Fine. He suddenly laughed, a bitter laugh. Since you're so eager to leave me, I'll grant your wish. He turned and went back into the room. Returning shortly with the seal in hand. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 10 in the morning. He placed the seal on the coffee table, then looked at me and said, Tessalin, this is the path you've chosen for yourself. Don't regret it later. With that, he turned and walked into the room without looking back. The sound of the door slamming shut was especially jarring in the night. Mrs. Shun and Shunzhen exchanged a glance, their eyes unable to conceal their joy. Tessa, perhaps it's for the best, you two aren't compatible, and forcing yourselves to stay together wouldn't bring happiness, Mrs. Shun said, offering insincere comfort. I ignored her, picked up the seal on the coffee table, and turned to go back to my room. Lying on the bed, I stared at the ceiling, recalling all the events of my past life. In my past life, I endured too much for the sake of this family and the so-called duties of a military wife. In the end, Lukashen and Sia Chi ended up together. While I perished in an accident, only before my death did I realize that those so-called accidents were nothing but carefully laid traps. In this life, I won't be foolish anymore. Lukashen, since you all think Sia Chi is so great, then go live your happy lives together. But when you realize the cost of losing me, I hope it's not too late for regrets. The next morning, the spring sunlight was exceptionally bright, yet the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau appeared somewhat desolate. I arrived early, dressed in a simple blue Zhongshan suit, with my hair neatly combed back. Lukashen arrived 10 minutes later than me, still wearing his military uniform. But his face looked even worse than last night. Let's go. I took the lead and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau. The divorce process went smoothly, though the staff seemed surprised when they saw our documents. After all, Lukashen was a well-known young official, and our marriage had been considered a model story in the military district. Comrade, are you both certain about getting divorced? The staff member asked. You both seem quite young. Is there any conflict that can't be resolved through discussion? Certain, I answered before Lukashen could respond. Lukashen glanced at me but ultimately signed the divorce papers. As I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, holding the red divorce certificate in my hand, an unprecedented sense of relief washed over me. Tessalin, Lukashen called out to me from behind. I turned around and saw an emotion in his eyes that I couldn't decipher. You can keep living in the house. I'll move to the company dormitory, he said. Also, if you ever need any help, no need. I cut him off. Lukashen, from now on, we're strangers. With that, I walked away without looking back. When I got home, Mother Shen was on the phone in the living room. Seeing me come in, she quickly hung up. Is it done? She asked, her eyes full of anticipation. I waved the divorce certificate in front of her. It's done. We're no longer family from now on. Mother Shen's smile brightened even more. That's good. That's good. Tessa, even though you and Luca are divorced, we still, are you moving out? She saw me dragging my suitcase out, and the smile on her face froze. Yes, I'm moving out. I placed the keys in my hand on the coffee table. I'm returning the house to you. No, Tessa. Where are you moving to? Mother Shen panicked a little. Where can a young woman like you go? I sneered. No need for you to worry about that. Actually, I had already figured out where to go. My cousin runs a clothing store in the city and happens to need help. Besides, I have other plans. Shunjin came out of her room at that moment. Seeing that I was leaving, she actually seemed relieved. Sis, Tessalin, where are you going? None of your business. I dragged my suitcase toward the door. Wait, Mother Shen suddenly called out to me. Tessa, you can leave if you want. But you have to leave behind all the things we bought for you over the years. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at her. What things? Clothes, jewelry, and all those fabric and food coupons. They were all bought with our family's money, Mother Shen said righteously. I put down my suitcase and walked back into the living room. All right, You're right, I started taking off my coat. This outfit was bought by you. I'm returning it to you. And these pants, these shoes. I tossed them towards Shin's mother as I took them off. What are you doing? Shin's mother stepped back in alarm. And this necklace, this bracelet, I removed all the jewelry from my body. I'm giving everything back to you. Soon, the living room was piled with clothes and jewelry. I was only wearing the innermost white blouse and black pants, which I had brought from my parents' home when I got married. Is there anything else you want to take back? I asked. Mrs. Shun and Shunjun were dumbfounded. They probably hadn't expected me to be so resolute. But there's one more thing I want to take back, I said, walking up to Mrs. Shun. Take off that sweater you're wearing. What? Mrs. Shun was puzzled. That sweater was hand-knitted by me. Wearing it while cursing me makes me sick. I said coldly. You, Mrs. Shun was too angry to speak, and those shoes on her feet. I made them too. I pointed at Shunjun. Take them off. On what grounds? Shunjun retorted defiantly, stiffening her neck. On the grounds that I don't want to see my creations on you. My voice grew increasingly icy. What's the matter? Weren't you just talking about returning things to their rightful owner? In the end, both Shun's mother and Shunjun had no choice but to comply. Watching their disheveled state, a sense of satisfaction welled up inside me. One more thing. I dragged my suitcase back toward the door. Tell Lukashin that what he owes me. I'll come to collect someday. Stepping out of the courtyard I had lived in for 3 years, I didn't look back. The world outside is vast, and I, at last, am free. My cousin Lin Xiaoying was surprised when she saw me. Tessa, what brings you here? And with a suitcase. Cousin, I divorced Lukashin. I got straight to the point. Can I stay with you for a few days? Lin Xiaoying widened her eyes. Divorced? Why? Was he not good to you? It's a long story. I sighed. I want to settle down first. Then discuss something with you. What is it? I want to go into business with you. Lin Xiaoying was even more surprised. Starting a business. Tessa, now is not the time for business. It will be soon. I smiled mysteriously. In my past life, the spring breeze of reform and opening up would soon sweep across the land. And I was determined to seize this opportunity to show those who looked down on me that even without the Shen family, I, Tessa Lin, could live a brilliant life. That night, I stayed in my cousin's small attic. Lying on the simple little bed, I recalled Lukashin's appearance at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau today. He must have returned home by now, right? I wonder what he would think upon seeing the clothes and jewelry scattered all over the living room. And what about Xia Qi? When will she come back? I remember in my past life, she returned to the country a month after my divorce from Lukashin, and soon after, she got together with him. In this lifetime, I want to see for myself, without me as their stepping stone, whether their love will still be so smooth. The moonlight outside the window is bright, shining on my face, warm and gentle. This feeling is truly wonderful. No need to watch anyone's expression, no need to endure anyone's disdain. Finally able to live for myself. On the 3rd day after the divorce, while my cousin and I were organizing goods in the shop, someone suddenly knocked on the door. Tessa, someone is looking for you. My cousin came back from the door with a somewhat strange expression. I looked up and saw Shunjun standing at the entrance. She was wearing a new outfit, with light makeup on her face, looking much more spirited than she did at home. How did you find this place? I put down the fabric in my hands. I asked a lot of people before finding it. Shunjun walked into the shop, glancing around. Sis, Tessalin, can we talk? What about? I continued with my work without looking directly at her. It's about my brother. Shunjun's voice was cautious. My cousin glanced at us and tactfully said, I'll go next door. Take your time talking. After my cousin left, Shunjun finally spoke. Tessa, my brother hasn't been eating much these past few days. He's lost a lot of weight. What's it to me? I didn't even look up. He really regrets it. Truly, Shunjun said urgently. After you left that day, he scolded both me and my mom, saying we went too far. I let out a cold laugh. Now they realize it was too much. Where was this concern earlier? My brother says he wants to remarry you, Shunjun said, biting her lip. My hands froze in mid-action as I looked up at her. Remarry? Yes. He said he can't live without you, that he can't do anything well without you. Shunjun's eyes actually welled up with tears. Tessa, I know we treated you poorly before, but my brother truly loves you, loves me. I stood up and walked over to Shunjun. Shunjun, tell me, what does he love about me? Your gentleness, Your kindness. Enough. I cut her off. If he truly loved me, he wouldn't have let me suffer so much injustice in your family. Shunjun opened her mouth but couldn't find the words to say, and since he supposedly loves me so much, why did he change the moment Xia Qi returned? I stepped closer to her. Do you really think I don't know about your little schemes? What schemes? Shunjun retreated guiltily. Is Xia Qi returning to the country next month? I sneered. Do you want me to remarry him, and then find a way to kick me out once Xia Qi comes back? Shunjun's face instantly turned pale. How did you know Xia Qi is coming back? Of course I know, I replied, sitting back down in my seat. So, go tell Lukashen that there's no possibility between us anymore, but, no buts. I picked up a piece of fabric and started measuring. I already have new life plans. I don't need him. Shunjun still wanted to say something when another person entered through the door. Xiaojun, what are you doing here? I looked up and saw it was Lukashen. He was still wearing that military uniform, but he looked noticeably more haggard, with dark circles under his eyes. Brother, what brings you here? Shunjun asked in surprise. Lukashen didn't answer her but stared straight at me. Tessa, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I continued with my work without even looking up at him. Tessa, I know I was wrong. Lukashen walked up to me. I've thought a lot these past few days. I'm sorry. I failed to protect you. What's the use of saying this now? I finally looked up at him. Lukashen, we're already divorced. You should go prepare to welcome your white moonlight. Lukashen's expression changed. What white moonlight? You're the only one in my heart. Is that so? I stood up. Then what about Xia Qi? Xia Qi is just my classmate. There's nothing between us, Lukashen explained urgently. Classmate, I sneered. Lukashen, would your classmate publicly say I'm not good enough for you? Would your classmate have your mother constantly talking about you two getting back together? Lukashen opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. I've already investigated everything. I continued. Xia Qi was your first love. If her father hadn't objected, you two would have married long ago. All these years, the only reason you married me was because she wasn't around, and you needed someone to take care of the household. That's not true. Tessa, let me explain. Enough. I slammed the table. Lukashen, we're already divorced. I don't want to hear your explanations anymore. The shop fell silent for a moment, with only the sound of our 3 breaths audible. After a long pause, Lukashen finally spoke. Tessa, if you're still angry, you can hit me, scold me, but please don't leave me. Looking at the plea in his eyes, a wave of bitterness welled up in my heart. In my past life, it was because of my soft-heartedness that I forgave and compromised time and again, only to be met with death in the end. Lukashen, do you know what I've been thinking about these past few days? I sat back in my chair. I remembered the first day of our marriage. A flicker of warmth passed through Lukashen's eyes. That night, your mom asked me to wash the dishes in the kitchen, saying a new bride should do the work. Do you know what I was thinking at that time? He shook his head. I was thinking, maybe this is just the life of a military wife, and I should get used to it. I let out a bitter laugh. Later, Xiaojun took all my dowry jewelry and gave it away, saying I didn't deserve to wear it anyway. Do you know what I was thinking? Lukashen's expression grew increasingly grim. I was thinking, maybe she was right. I really didn't deserve those things. My voice choked up slightly. For 3 years, I kept doubting myself, kept putting myself down, until just a few days ago when I finally realized it wasn't me who was wrong. Tessa, Lukashen reached out to touch my face, but I dodged his hand. Lukashen, I'm no longer that Tessa Lin who would compromise herself for you. I stood up. Now please leave. I have things to attend to. Lukashen stood in place for a long while before finally turning and walking away. As Shunjun reached the door, she glanced back at me, her eyes filled with resentment, watching their figures disappear down the street. I heavily sank back into my chair. My cousin came back from next door at this moment and, seeing my expression, asked with concern, "What's wrong? Have they left?" "They're gone." I rubbed my temples. "Cousin, let's go talk to Master Liu tomorrow about the clothing factory." "So soon?" My cousin looked worried. "Tessa, did they upset you?" "No." I shook my head. "I just don't want to waste any more time. The policy of reform and opening up will soon be implemented, and then the individual economy will flourish. I must seize this opportunity to make myself stronger. Only in this way can I completely break free from the past and make those who looked down on me see me in a new light." That night, I wrote in my diary, "Lukashen, thank you for appearing today. which has strengthened my resolve in my choices. In this life, I will live for myself. One afternoon a month later, I was discussing new designs with the workers at Master Liu's sewing factory when my cousin hurriedly rushed in. "Tessa, someone's looking for you," she said with a strange expression on her face. I put down the fabric in my hands and walked out, only to see a stylishly dressed woman standing at the factory entrance. She appeared to be around 25 or 26. With the most fashionable wavy perm of the time, wearing a chic dress and a pair of dainty leather shoes, Sia Chi, I recognized her at first glance, though she was a few years younger than when I had seen her in my previous life. That haughty demeanor of hers hadn't changed a bit. "So you're Tessa Lin?" She looked me up and down, her eyes filled with disdain. "That's me." I stepped closer to her. "You're Sia Chi, right?" She seemed surprised. "You know me, I've heard of him," I said indifferently. "A classmate of Lukashen's, right?" A hint of pride flashed across Sia Chi's face. "Not just classmates, we're also what?" I interrupted her. She bit her lip, seemingly hesitating whether to say it or not. "What do you want from me?" I didn't want to waste words with her. "I heard you divorced Luca," Sia Chi asked directly. "Yes, why?" Her eyes sparkled with gossipy curiosity. I sneered. "You didn't come here just to ask about that, did you?" Sia Chi looked somewhat embarrassed. "I'm worried about Luca. I heard he's been in a really bad state lately." "Then go comfort him." "Why come to me?" Sia Chi's face turned red. "We're just ordinary friends." "Just friends?" I looked her up and down. "Miss Chi, you dressed up so beautifully today just to come and tell me you're just friends." She became even more embarrassed by my words. "Or are you here to assert your dominance?" I continued. "To tell me that Lukashen is now free, and you can rightfully pursue him." "Don't talk nonsense." Sia Chi's voice turned sharp. "Whether you're talking nonsense or not, you know it in your heart." I turned to leave. "But since you're here, I might as well tell you something." "What do you mean?" I turned back to look at her. "Lukashen is now free. You can pursue him if you want. But there's one thing I must remind you. Don't let me catch you playing dirty tricks behind the scenes." "What do you mean?" Sia Chi seemed flustered. "I mean, I have no problem with fair competition. But if you dare to use any underhanded methods, I'll make sure you regret it." With that, I walked into the factory building without looking back. Sia Chi's voice came from behind. "Tessa Lin, what do you mean? You're already divorced, and you still want to cling to Luca?" I didn't respond and continued discussing the new designs with the workers. My cousin followed me in and asked worriedly, "Tessa, who is that woman? She doesn't seem friendly, an unimportant person." I continued sketching the design. "Cousin, what do you think of this style? It's quite nice. But isn't this neckline a bit too bold?" My cousin pointed at the drawing. "Not at all. People's minds will become much more open soon enough, and this style will be very popular." As we were speaking, another person entered the factory door. This time it's Lukashen. He looks even more haggard than the last time we met, his military uniform no longer appearing as crisp. "Tessa, can I talk to you?" His voice was hoarse. I glanced around. The workers were all sneaking glances at us. "Let's talk outside." We walked to the small courtyard behind the factory building, where it was relatively quiet. "Did Sia Chi come looking for you?" Lukashen got straight to the point. "Yeah, what did she say?" There was an emotion in his eyes that I couldn't decipher. "Didn't say much, just came to declare sovereignty." I leaned against the wall. "What, you two have been developing quickly, Tessa?" "There's nothing between me and her," Lukashen explained urgently. "She did come to see me after returning to the country, but I've already clearly rejected her." "Rejected her for what?" "She wanted to get back together," Lukashen said with difficulty. "But I refused, because in my heart there's only you." I sneered. "Lukashen, do you really think I'd believe that?" "It's true, Tessa. I swear." "Enough." I cut him off. "Lukashen, I don't want to hear your explanations anymore. Who you love, who you're with, none of it concerns me." "How can it not concern you? You're my wife, ex-wife," I emphasized. "We're already divorced. Please understand your position clearly." Lukashen's face darkened. "Tessa, I know I've made many mistakes in the past, but please give me a chance to make it up to you." "Not necessary." I straightened up. "Lukashen, listen carefully. I'm doing just fine now. I don't need your apologies, and I don't need your pestering." "What entanglement?" You just what? Can't let go, can't bear to part." I looked at him coldly. "Lukashen, have you ever thought that maybe I don't love you anymore?" These words were like a knife. stabbing straight into Lukashen's heart. His face instantly turned deathly pale. No, impossible, he muttered to himself. Tessa, you can't not love me. You loved me so much. That was in the past. My voice was calm. Lukashen, people change, and love can fade too. I don't believe it. He suddenly grabbed my arm. Tessa, look into my eyes and tell me, do you really not love me anymore? I looked straight into his eyes and said word by word, Lukashen, I don't love you anymore. He let go of my arm, his whole being as if drained of its soul. Why? His voice was so soft, as if he were asking himself, because you've let me down completely. I turned to leave. Lukashen, go find someone who truly loves you and live a good life, like Sia-Chi. Tessa, he shouted after me, I won't give up. I'll prove to you that I really love you. I didn't look back, but an indescribable emotion welled up in my heart. Lukashen, what are you trying to prove? That your love is more genuine than 3 years of indifference, or that your regret runs deeper than the wounds I've endured? It's all too late now. In this lifetime, I won't give anyone another chance to hurt me. Back in the workshop, my cousin noticed my expression and asked with concern, what's wrong? Is he bothering you again? It's fine. I picked up the design drawings. Cousin, let's speed up the progress and aim to start production next month. So urgent. The policy of reform and opening up is about to be officially announced soon. Market demand will surge, and we need to seize the opportunity. Although my cousin didn't quite understand why I was so certain, she nodded in agreement. That evening, I wrote in my diary, today I met Sia-Chi and also Lukashen. One came to assert dominance, the other to beg for reconciliation. What do they take me for? The regrets of my past life. I will never repeat them in this lifetime. Lukashen, Sia-Chi. You two can take your time entangling with each other. I have more important things to do. 2 months later, my cousin and I had officially started production at our small clothing factory. Just as I had predicted, after the reform and opening up policy was officially announced, the market demand for trendy clothing surged. Our first batch of goods sold out immediately after hitting the market, and orders came pouring in like snowflakes. Tessa, you're absolutely amazing. My cousin counted the cash in her hands, beaming with joy. Our profits this month are more than what I used to make in an entire year. This is just the beginning, I said while checking the new orders. Cousin, we need to expand our operations. Just as we were talking, worker Xiao Zhong rushed in. Boss, someone is here to see you. I looked up and saw Shunjin standing at the door. She was dressed in simple clothes, with an ingratiating smile on her face. Tessa, congratulations on your success, she said as she walked in, glancing around our small workshop. What do you want? I didn't give her a friendly look. Well, Shunjin seemed a bit uneasy. I was wondering if I could come work for you. I stopped what I was doing and looked at her carefully. Work? Yes, I heard your company is doing very well, and I was thinking, Shunjin, do you really think I would hire you? I cut her off directly. Her face turned red. Tessa, I know I treated you poorly before, but things are different now. What's different? Shunjin bit her lip. My brother got together with Sia-Chi. The pen in my hand stopped moving as I looked up at her. When did that happen? Last month. Shunjin cautiously studied my expression. Sia-Chi moved in with us. My mom adores her, praising her every day for being virtuous. I sneered. That's great. You got what you wanted. No, Tessa, Shunjin said urgently. My brother doesn't love her at all. He's miserable every day and drinks constantly. What does that have to do with me? I continued working with my head down, and Sia-Chi, Shunjin hesitated. She's especially harsh to me, always ordering me around and saying I'm uneducated. Even my mom favors her now. I have no status at home at all. I looked up at her with interest. So I want to work and support myself, Shunjin said earnestly. Tessa, I know you're kind-hearted. Please help me. Kind-hearted. I laughed. Shunjin, have you forgotten something? She froze for a moment. Who was it that said I wasn't good enough for your brother? Who gave away my dowry? Who kicked me when I was down when I needed support the most? I asked, one question after another. Shunjin's face grew increasingly grim. I was young and foolish back then, and now you're wise. I stood up. Shunjin, do you know what karma is? What do you mean? What you did to me back then, Sia-Chi is now doing to you. I said coldly, that's called retribution. Tears welled up in Shunjin's eyes. Tessa, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Can you please forgive me just this once? Forgive. I walked up to her. Shunjin, My nanny was beaten to death by you all for defending me. My youth was ruined by you. My dignity was trampled by you, and you think a simple I was wrong would earn forgiveness. Shenzhen was left speechless. Go back. I sat down again. Go experience what it feels like to be looked down upon. It'll do you good. Shenzhen stood there for a long time, but in the end, she left in tears. My cousin watched her retreating figure and said, Tessa, she seems genuinely pitiful. Pitiful, I scoffed. Cousin, you haven't seen how she treated me before. Now that she's tasted what it's like to be bullied, she comes begging for my help. Do you think I should pity her? My cousin nodded. You're right. Some people won't shed tears until they see their own coffin. That afternoon, while I was discussing payment with a supplier, Xiao Zhong rushed in again to say someone was looking for me. This time it was Shen's mother. She was dressed in new clothes, with makeup on her face, looking much younger than before. Yet, there was an unmistakable weariness in her eyes. Tessa, she said as she walked in, her tone much gentler than before. Something wrong? I continued negotiating with the supplier. Mrs. Shen glanced at the supplier beside her. Can I talk to you alone? I signaled for the supplier to leave first, then looked at Mrs. Shen. Go ahead, Tessa, you're doing so well. She looked around, her eyes filled with envy. Such a big factory, so many workers, you've really made something of yourself. Thanks for the compliment. My tone was cold. Tessa, I came today to apologize to you, Mrs. Shen suddenly said. I was a bit surprised. Apologize? Yes, apologize. Tears welled up in Mrs. Shen's eyes. I treated you poorly before. It was my fault. Mrs. Shen, what's going on with you? I asked deliberately. Why the sudden urge to apologize? Shen's mother looked somewhat awkward. Xia Qi asked me to come. Xia Qi, I grew even more curious. She asked you to apologize. Why? She said. Shen's mother hesitated. She said only if you forgive us can Luca truly forget about you and focus on being with her. Finally, I understood. Xia Qi is very clever. She knows that Luca Shen still has feelings for me, so she wants to use this method to completely erase me from his heart. Do you really think I would forgive you? I asked. Mrs. Shen nodded eagerly. Tessa, I know we were wrong before, but Luca is really suffering now. Please, just take pity on him. Pity him, I interrupted her. Mrs. Shen, have you ever thought about who pitied me when I was being bullied by you back then? Shen's mother opened her mouth but couldn't utter a word. And just because Xia Qi told you to apologize, you came, I sneered. Is she the head of your family now? Shen's mother's face darkened. Tessa, what do you mean by that? Nothing much. Just find it quite ironic. I stood up. Back then, you looked down on me as your daughter-in-law. Now you do whatever Xia Qi tells you to. Is this the life you wanted? Mother Shen was at a loss for words. Go back and tell Xia Qi that I won't forgive you. Never. I walked to the door and tell her to stop these petty tricks. It's childish. Mother Shen stood frozen in place, leaving only after a long while. My cousin came over and said, these people are really too much. They looked down on you before, and now they're begging for your forgiveness. That's how people are. They only realize the value of what they've lost after it's gone. I sat back down, but it's already too late. That night, I wrote in my diary, today, Shenzhen and Shen's mother both came to see me, one asking for a job, the other for forgiveness. They both claimed it was for Luca Shen's sake, but in truth, it was all for their own benefit. In my past life, I was too soft-hearted, always fooled by their tears and sweet words. In this life, I won't make the same mistake again. Luca Shen, since you've chosen Xia Qi, enjoy the life she gives you. I have more important things to do and no time to play these silly games with you. 6 months later, my clothing factory had gained some reputation, with 3 branches opened in the provincial capital. Just as my career was flourishing, unexpected news arrived. Tessa, I heard Luca Shen is getting married. My cousin said as she walked into my office holding an invitation. I looked up and saw the red invitation in her hand, bearing the names Luca Shen and Xia Qi. Who sent this? I asked. Shenzhen, my cousin replied. She's still waiting at the door, saying she wants to personally invite you to the wedding. I let out a cold laugh. Let her in. Moments later, Shenzhen walked in. It had been half a year since we last met, and she had lost a lot of weight. Her complexion didn't look good either. It seemed life hadn't been kind to her. Tessa, congratulations on your career success. Her tone was respectful, a far cry from the haughty sister-in-law she used to be. Get straight to the point. I skipped the pleasantries. Shunjin bit her lip. My brother is getting married, on the 15th of next month. We hope you can attend. I pushed the invitation back to her. Shunjin, do you really think I'd go to my ex-husband's wedding? I know this request is excessive, but Shunjin's eyes welled up with tears. Tessa, my brother is truly suffering. He doesn't love Xiaoqi at all. If he doesn't love her, why get married? Because Xiaoqi is pregnant. Shunjin revealed the truth. I froze for a moment, then laughed. Pregnant, shouldn't that make marriage even more necessary? But Shunjin said urgently, my brother said that child isn't his. Now I was truly surprised. What do you mean? Xiaoqi had a relationship with another man, but she claimed the child was my brother's. Shunjin explained in detail. My brother didn't want to admit it, but Xiaoqi threatened to report him to the military district for abandoning her, which would ruin his future. I leaned back in my chair, digesting this news. So you want me to expose her at the wedding? I asked. Shunjin nodded. Tessa, you're so smart. You'll definitely find a way. Why should I help you? I looked at her coldly. Shunjin, has your memory gotten that bad? I know we wronged you in the past, but right now my brother really needs your help. That's enough. I cut her off. Shunjin, what does your brother's life or death have to do with me? When you all kicked me out of the house, you didn't think I might need help. Shunjin's face turned grim. Tessa, can you really be this heartless? Heartless. I stood up. Shunjin, let me tell you what heartless really means. I walked up to her. When Xiaoqi came back, you all started scheming on how to push me aside. Now that she's marrying your brother, you suddenly remember me. No, that's not it. Besides, since Xiaoqi is pregnant, no matter whose child it is, she's going to marry your brother. Do you really think me causing a scene would do anyone any good? Shunjin opened her mouth but couldn't find the words. Go back and tell Lukashin that the path he chose is his to walk alone, I said, sitting back down, and don't come looking for me again. Shunjin stood in place for a long time, but ultimately walked away. My cousin came over and said, Tessa, do you really think the child Xiaoqi is carrying isn't Lukashin's? Who knows? I flipped through the ledger, but none of this has anything to do with me, but the way you look. My cousin hesitated. Do you still care about him? I stopped what I was doing and thought carefully. Cousin, do you know what liberation means? What do you mean? In my past life, I gave everything for Lukashin, but in the end, I gained nothing. In this life, seeing him entangled with Xiaoqi, I actually feel relieved. I smiled. This shows I've truly let go. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I returned to my past life and witnessed the scene of Lukashin and Xiaoqi's wedding. At that time, I was lying on a sickbed, on the verge of death, while they were on stage pledging their undying love. When I woke up, I found my pillow soaked, not from sorrow, but from relief. Relief that in this life I didn't follow the same path as my past life. Relief that I managed to climb out of that quagmire in time. 3 days later, I received an unexpected visitor. It's Xiaoqi. She was wearing maternity clothes, her belly already quite noticeable. Her face was adorned with delicate makeup. And she looked radiant. Tessalin, we meet again, she said, sitting across from me, her tone laced with obvious pride. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding, I continued, still looking at the documents in my hand. Thank you. Xiaoqi patted her stomach. I came here this time to tell you some good news. What good news? Lucas said he wants to completely leave the past behind and won't think about you anymore, Xiaoqi said smugly. He also mentioned that he now understands what true love really is. I put down the documents and looked at her. Finished talking. Xiaoqi was taken aback. Don't you have anything to say? Yes, I stood up. Xiaoqi, do you know what carrying coals to Newcastle means? What do you mean? Her expression changed. I stopped caring about Lukashin long ago. What's the point of you coming here to tell me all this? Other than to show how childish you are, I said coldly. Xiaoqi's face darkened. You, also, is the child in your belly really Lukashin's? I asked directly. Xiaoqi's face instantly turned pale. What nonsense are you talking about? Whether it's nonsense or not, you know best in your heart. I walked up to her. Xiaoqi, do you think you can tie Lukashin down for a lifetime with just a child? This child is his. Xiaoqi became somewhat hysterical. Is that so? I sneered. Then do you dare to take a paternity test? Xiaoqi's face turned even uglier. She stood up and pointed at me, saying, Tessalin, don't go too far, too far. I also stood up. Sia Chi, the one who's truly going too far is you. You used despicable means to steal someone else's husband, and now you're trying to secure your position with a child of questionable origin. Don't you find that disgusting? Sia Chi was so angry she couldn't speak. Don't worry, I won't ruin your wedding. I sat back down. Since Lukashen chose you, let him bear the consequences. Sia Chi froze for a moment. What do you mean? It means your marriage is your own business. Whether it succeeds or fails has nothing to do with me. I picked up the documents and continued reading. You can leave now. Sia Chi stood there for a long time before finally walking away. Watching her retreating figure, I thought to myself, Sia Chi, do you really think pregnancy will get you everything you want? My past life experience tells me that some men won't fall in love with a woman just because of a child. Lukashen, I'd like to see how you handle this mess. Lukashen's wedding proceeded as scheduled. I didn't attend, but I still heard some news. I heard there was a bit of a scene at the wedding. My cousin whispered to me mysteriously, "What's going on?" I asked without looking up. Sia Chi suddenly had a miscarriage at the wedding. Blood was everywhere. It scared all the guests. My cousin vividly described, I heard she's still lying in the hospital now. I stopped what I was doing. A miscarriage? Yes, and what's more, my cousin lowered her voice. The doctor said the timing of her pregnancy didn't add up. The child couldn't possibly be Lukashen's. This time I was genuinely surprised. It seems what Shunjin said was true. Sia Chi really intended to trap Lukashen using someone else's child. What's the situation now? I asked. I heard Lukashen flew into a rage and demanded a divorce from Sia Chi on the spot, but Sia Chi absolutely refused, saying she had suffered such great injustice and the Shun family must take responsibility. I sneered. How amusing. There's even more interesting stuff. My cousin continued. Sia Chi's ex-boyfriend suddenly showed up, claiming the child is his and wanting to get back together with Sia Chi. Now the three of them are in a complete mess. This drama is even more thrilling than I imagined. Just as we were talking, there was a knock at the door. I looked up and saw it was Lukashen. He looked utterly exhausted, with bloodshot eyes and an unshaven face, completely unlike the handsome officer he used to be. Tessa, can I talk to you? His voice was hoarse. My cousin tactfully left, leaving just the two of us in the office. I heard you got married. Congratulations, I said, my tone calm. Lukashen let out a bitter laugh. Married? I wish it were just a nightmare. So, Sia Chi let you down. I continued flipping through the account book. Tessa, you knew all along that the child wasn't mine, didn't you? Lukashen suddenly asked. I looked up at him. How would I know? Because you're too clever. Sia Chi's little tricks couldn't fool you. Lukashen walked up to me. Why didn't you warn me? Remind you? I sneered. Lukashen, why should I remind you? Have you forgotten what our relationship is now? Lukashen opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. Besides, even if I did remind you, would you believe me? I continued. Didn't you love Sia Chi to the point of life and death? I never loved her. Pain flickered in Lukashen's eyes. Tessa, you're the only one in my heart. Is that so? I stood up. Then why did you marry her? Because I thought that child was mine, and I had to take responsibility, Lukashen said with difficulty. Take responsibility. I laughed mockingly. Lukashen, you take responsibility for Sia Chi, but what about me? What does our 3-year marriage count for? Lukashen was left speechless by my question. Also, since I'm the only one in your heart, why didn't you try to stop me when I asked for a divorce? I pressed on. Lukashen's voice grew quieter. I thought you were just being impulsive. I thought you'd come back, so you got together with Sia Chi. I stared at him coldly. Lukashen, do you know what being despicable means? Lukashen's face turned grim. Now that Sia Chi has let you down, you think of me again. If she were really carrying your child, would you still come looking for me now? Lukashen was utterly ashamed by my words. Tessa, I know I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. He suddenly knelt before me. Please forgive me. Can we start over? Watching him kneel on the ground, I felt not a single ripple of emotion in my heart. Lukashen, do you know what it means to be too late? I looked down at him condescendingly. Half a year ago, even 2 years ago, if you had treated me this way, I would have forgiven you. But now, it's too late. It's not too late. Tessa, it's never too late. Lukashen's eyes were filled with tears. It is. I walked to the window. Lukashen, do you know how I feel right now? He shook his head. I look at you now as if you were a stranger. I turned to face him. Your pain, your regret, your tears. None of it means anything to me. Lukashen's face turned deathly pale. Why has it come to this? He murmured to himself. We loved each other so deeply. Yes, we once loved each other so deeply. My tone carried a hint of nostalgia. But once love is gone, it can never be found again. No way. It's impossible. Lukashen shook his head. Tessa, you're just punishing me. I know you still have feelings for me in your heart. What do you know? I sneered. Lukashen, you're too full of yourself. I walked behind the desk and took out a folder from the drawer. Take a look at this. I threw the folder in front of him. Lukashen opened it to find an engagement agreement inside. What is this? His face instantly turned ashen. My engagement agreement. I said calmly. Next month, I'm getting engaged. Lukashen stood up abruptly. Impossible. There's no way you could have a new boyfriend so quickly. Why is it impossible? I sat back down. Lukashen, do you think everyone is as indecisive as you? Who is he? I won't allow you to be with someone else. Lukashen said emotionally. You won't allow it. I sneered. Lukashen, what right do you have to forbid me? What are you to me now? I'm your ex-husband. I love you. An ex-husband is the past, and so is love. I cut him off. Lukashen, wake up. It's over between us. Lukashen stood there, as if his soul had been drained from his body. Tessa, please, don't do this to me. His voice trembled with tears. How have I treated you? I stared at him coldly. I gave you freedom to chase your white moonlight, and now I want my freedom too. What's wrong with that? Lukashen opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. Please leave. I picked up the ledger again. I still have work to do. Lukashen stood in place for a long while before finally turning and walking away. Watching his retreating figure, I thought to myself, Lukashen, this is the taste of loss. Savor it well. That evening, my cousin asked me, Tessa, are you really getting engaged? Of course, I smiled. Cousin, don't you think it's about time? But that agreement, it's fake, I confessed. But it'll soon become real. My cousin looked at me with confusion. Tomorrow we'll go meet the son of Boss Liu. I heard he just returned from abroad and happens to be looking for a girlfriend. I said jokingly, but deep down, I knew very well. Whether it was a real engagement or a fake one, it made no difference to me. What mattered was that I needed to make Lukashen give up completely, and to bid farewell to my past once and for all. In this life, I will live for myself. A month later, I was truly engaged. My fiancé was Liu Mingyuan, the son of Boss Liu, a Ph.D. returnee who had studied in the United States. Though not as handsome as Lukashen, he was gentle, refined, and treated me very well. Most importantly, he would never let me suffer any grievances. On the day of the engagement banquet, many business partners and friends came. I was wearing a white dress, with a happy smile on my face. Tessa, congratulations, my cousin said excitedly. You've finally found someone who truly cherishes you. Thank you, cousin, I replied with a smile. Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance of the venue. It's Lukashen. He was dressed in a black Zhongshan suit, his face pale and his eyes hollow. Seeing Liu Mingyuan and me standing on the stage, his entire body trembled. The guests began whispering when they saw him. After all, he was my ex-husband. And his presence at my engagement party was indeed awkward. Tessa, who is that man? Liu Mingyuan asked me quietly. My ex-husband, I said calmly. Ignore him. Liu Mingyuan nodded and continued mingling with the guests. Lukashen stood at the entrance for a long time but eventually left. After the engagement party ended, I changed out of my formal dress and prepared to go home. When I reached the parking lot, I saw Lukashen leaning against a car, waiting for me. Tessa, his voice was hoarse. Is there anything else? I asked. Are you really going to be with him? Lukashen's eyes were filled with pain. Yes, I didn't hesitate at all. Why, you don't love him, Lukashen said. How could I not love him? I retorted. Because I know you, and I know how you look when you're in love. The way you look at him is completely different from how you look at me. I was silent for a moment before saying, Lukashen, love isn't everything in life. What do you mean? I'm with Liu Mingyuan not just because of love, but also because he can give me the life I want. I looked at him. He respects me, supports my career, and never lets me suffer any grievances. These things are more important than love. Lukashen's face darkened even more. Tessa, you've changed. Yes, I've changed. I admitted. People always have to grow up and learn to protect themselves, but Lukashen tried to say something. But I interrupted him. Lukashen, do you remember what you once said to me? I looked at him. You said that marriage requires tolerance and compromise. He nodded. Now I'm telling you, tolerance and compromise must be mutual. If only one side is giving, it's not love, it's sacrifice. My tone was calm. I've sacrificed once before, and I won't do it a second time. Lukashen was left speechless by my words. And do you know why I chose Liu Mingyuan? I continued. Why? Because he never made me feel small in front of his family, never ignored me for other women, and never made me doubt my worth. I said word by word, these are things you could never do. Tears welled up in Lukashen's eyes. Tessa, give me a chance. I'll change. It's too late. I turned to leave. Lukashen, some mistakes can't be repeated, and some wounds can't be healed. Tessa, he shouted loudly behind me. I won't give up, even if you marry him. I won't give up. I didn't look back and got straight into the car, through the rearview mirror. I saw Lukashen standing there, like an abandoned child, but my heart remained completely unmoved. Some people, once missed, are gone forever. No amount of regret can bring them back. Back home, I wrote in my diary, today I got engaged. Lukashen came, but his presence meant nothing to me. I've learned how to protect myself and how to live for myself. This feeling is truly wonderful. 3 months later, I heard that Xia Qi had gotten back together with her ex-boyfriend, and Lukashen moved alone to the company dormitory. 2 months later, Mrs. Shen came to see me once, crying and saying that Lukashen wanted to apply for a transfer to the border region, asking me to talk him out of it. I refused. Everyone must take responsibility for their own choices, including me, and including him. 6 months later, I married Liu Mingyuan. No one from the Shen family was invited to the wedding, and our friends and family were all very happy. Liu Mingyuan treats me very well. And his family likes me too. We run the business together and plan for the future together. Although this is not a passionate love, this peaceful and stable life is exactly what I want. On our wedding night, Liu Mingyuan gently held me in his arms and whispered in my ear, Tessa, I will love you for the rest of my life. I leaned against his chest, feeling very calm inside. It feels so good to be cherished like this. Life after marriage was peaceful and fulfilling. Liu Mingyuan and I expanded our business, opening over a dozen branches nationwide. We also invested in other industries together, living a life that could be described as very prosperous. More importantly, Liu Mingyuan truly is a wonderful husband. He never looked down on me for being remarried. Instead, he often said that marrying me was his good fortune. A year after our marriage, I became pregnant. Tessa, you're going to be a mother. Liu Mingyuan excitedly spun me around in his arms. We're going to have our own child. Seeing how happy he was warmed my heart. This feeling of being cherished and protected was something I had never experienced in the Shen family. When I was 3 months pregnant, while I was checking inventory in the store, an employee suddenly ran over and said, Boss lady, there's a soldier outside looking for you. My heart sank as I stepped outside, and sure enough, it was Lukashen. He was dressed in a brand new military uniform, looking even more dashing than before, yet his face carried an indescribable weariness. Tessa, his eyes flickered with complex emotions when he saw me. Do you need something? I asked, my tone icy. I heard you're pregnant. His voice was slightly hoarse. Yeah, congratulations, he said with difficulty. You must be very happy. I didn't answer because I didn't know what to say. Tessa, I'm being transferred to the Northwest. I might not be back for a long time. Lukashen suddenly said, Oh. I remained very calm. Before I leave, I'd like to say a few words to you. Is that okay? There was a plea in his eyes. I hesitated for a moment, but ultimately nodded. We walked to the small garden behind the shop, where it was quieter. Tessa, I want to say I'm sorry to you. Lukashen stood in front of me, his eyes filled with a sincerity I had never seen before. Why are you apologizing? I asked. For my stupidity, for my weakness, for failing to protect you. He spoke word by word. Only now do I realize I've lost the best woman in this world. I listened, feeling no ripple of emotion in my heart. Tessa, I know saying these things is meaningless now, but I still want you to know, the greatest regret of my life is losing you. Lukashen's eyes brimmed with tears. I see, I said flatly. Don't you have anything to say to me? His voice carried a hint of hope. After a moment's thought, I replied, Lukashen, I hope you'll be well in the Northwest. Is that all? That's all. I nodded. We've long said everything that needed to be said between us. Lukashen's expression darkened, but he managed a strained smile. You're right, there really isn't anything left to say. He turned to leave, but after a few steps, he looked back. Tessa, even though we can't be together, I still want to wish you happiness. Thank you, I said, and I hope you can find someone who truly suits you. No more. Lukashen shook his head. I won't love anyone else in this lifetime. With that, he walked away without looking back. Watching his retreating figure, I thought to myself, Lukashen, this is the price of missing out. You chose Sia Chi, and now you must bear the consequence of losing me. Though I regret it now, it's already too late. Back at the shop, the employees asked me with concern, Boss, are you all right? Was that officer a friend of yours, an old friend? I said lightly, we probably won't meet again. That evening, I told Liu Mingyuan about the incident. Did that Lukashen come to see you? Liu Mingyuan asked with some concern. What did he say? Nothing much, just came to say goodbye. I leaned against his chest, he's heading to the northwest. Might not be back for a long time. Do you feel anything about it? Liu Mingyuan asked cautiously. I thought for a moment and said, not really, it's just like saying goodbye to an ordinary old friend. Liu Mingyuan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, I was worried you might what? I smiled. Might fall in love with him again. Liu Mingyuan looked somewhat embarrassed. Mingyuan, you have to believe me, right now, I only love you. I looked at him earnestly. The past is in the past, all I want now is to live a good life with you. Liu Mingyuan held me tightly. Tessa, I love you too. I hugged him back. These words came straight from my heart. Perhaps my love for Liu Mingyuan isn't as passionate as it once was for Lukashen, but this love feels more grounded, more dependable. That's enough. A few months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Liu Mingyuan was overjoyed and spent every day doting on the child. Even more nervous than I was as the mother. Tessa, look how much the little one resembles you, he said, holding the baby with a face full of tenderness. He looks like you too, I replied with a smile. No, he takes after you more, especially these eyes. Liu Mingyuan gently stroked the baby's cheek. Our son is sure to be very clever. Watching the interaction between the father and son, my heart was filled with warmth. This is the life I've always wanted. Peaceful, warm, and full of love. That night, I wrote in my diary, today my son was born, and Liu Mingyuan was as happy as a child. Seeing the two of them together, I knew I had made the right choice. Lukashen, I hope everything is going well for you in the Northwest. We've both moved on to new lives, and I wish happiness for each of us. 3 springs later, I had become a mother of 2. My eldest son, Liu Xiaobao, was 3 years old, and my youngest daughter, Liu Xiaoya, had just turned 1. Our business had also grown significantly, with over 30 branches nationwide, and we had expanded into real estate and other industries. Liu Mingyuan often joked that I was his lucky charm, saying marrying me was the greatest fortune of his life. One day, while I was in a company meeting discussing the product plan for the new season, my secretary suddenly rushed in, looking flustered. Mr. Lin, something's wrong. There are many reporters outside who want to interview you. Interview me. I was puzzled. Why would they want to interview me? It seems it's because, the secretary hesitated, because of the matter with Chief Shin. My heart skipped a beat. What matter? You'd better go out and see for yourself. I hurried out of the office and saw a crowd of reporters gathered downstairs, speaking into microphones pointed at cameras. Dear viewers, I'm currently outside Lin's fashion company, where we're about to interview the company's general manager, Ms. Tessa Lin. It's reported that she is the ex-wife of the recently deceased Chief Lukashen. My legs instantly went weak, and I nearly collapsed. Sacrifice. Lukashen sacrificed. President Lin, are you all right? The secretary quickly supported me. I forced myself to stand steady, my voice trembling as I asked, go find out what exactly happened. Before long, the secretary returned, looking very pale. Director Lin, I've found out, Chief Shin encountered terrorists while on a mission at the border. To protect civilians, the secretary couldn't continue. I was completely stunned. Lukashen is dead. The man who once loved me and whom I loved has left this world forever. Mr. Lin, those reporters are still downstairs. Would you like to give an interview? The secretary asked cautiously. No, I shook my head. Have security escort them away. I returned to my office, closed the door, and sat quietly alone. Unbidden, images of Lukashen surfaced in my mind. His youthful vigor, his tender affection when we married, and the desolate weariness of our last meeting, it turned out he really wasn't coming back. I don't know how long I sat there before a knock came at the door. "Come in." It was Liu Mingyuan. His expression was grim. Clearly, he'd already heard the news. "Tessa, are you okay?" He approached and gently patted my back. "I'm fine." I forced a smile, just a bit shocked. "I heard that Lukashen sacrificed himself to save others." Liu Mingyuan's tone was heavy. "He was a hero." "Yes, he was a hero." I repeated the words, tears welling up in my eyes. Seeing me cry, Liu Mingyuan said nervously, "Tessa, don't be like this. I know you're heartbroken." "Mingyuan, I'm not crying because I still love him." I looked up at Liu Mingyuan. "I'm crying because we'll never have the chance to reconcile again." Liu Mingyuan was taken aback. "Even though we're divorced, even though we've both moved on with our lives. Deep down I always hoped that one day I could truly forgive him and become friends with him." I wiped away my tears. "But now, that wish will never come true." Liu Mingyuan held me tightly. "Tessa, don't dwell on this. What's done cannot be undone, and blaming yourself won't help." "I'm not blaming myself." I leaned into his embrace. "I just feel that life is too unpredictable." "Yes, life is indeed unpredictable." Liu Mingyuan gently stroked my hair. "So we must cherish everything we have now even more." That night, I couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, I recalled all the past memories with Lukashen, the sweetness of newlywed life, the arguments during our adjustment period, the finality of our separation. Those memories hadn't truly vanished. They were just buried deep in my heart. The next day, I decided to attend Lukashen's memorial service. "Tessa, are you really going?" Liu Mingyuan sounded concerned. "Is it appropriate? I have to go." I put on a black suit. No matter what, we were once married. I should see him off one last time. Liu Mingyuan nodded. "Then I'll go with you." "No need, I can go by myself." I shook my head. "This is between him and me." The memorial service was held in the military district auditorium, and many people attended. Shen's mother sat in the front row, crying uncontrollably. Shunjin sat beside her, her face also streaked with tears. I sat in a corner at the back, quietly gazing at Lukashen's portrait on the stage. In the photo, he still looked so handsome, so full of vigor, as if he were still alive. "Comrades, Comrade Lukashen was our good comrade in arms, our good leader." The official on the stage was delivering the eulogy, but I couldn't listen, just stared blankly at that photo. "Lukashen, in the end, you still left, so suddenly, so resolutely. You said you would never love anyone again in this lifetime. It seems now you're determined to leave this world with that conviction." After the memorial service, I left quietly. As I reached the doorway, Shunjin came running after me. "Tessa, thank you for coming to my brother's memorial," she said, her eyes swollen and her voice hoarse. "It's the least I could do," I said quietly. "Tessa, there's something I need to tell you." Shunjin bit her lip. "Before my brother passed away, he wrote you a letter and asked me to deliver it to you." She took an envelope from her bag and handed it to me. I hesitated for a moment before finally accepting the letter. Back at home, I shut myself in the study and opened the letter. "Tessa, by the time you read this letter, I might no longer be in this world. I don't know when I will die, but I know there are things I want to say to you before I leave. First of all, I want to say sorry to you once again. Sorry for my foolishness, sorry for my weakness, sorry for not protecting you well enough. Secondly, I want to tell you that all these years, I have been missing you, missing your smile, missing your gentleness, missing every single day we spent together. I know you are very happy now, with a loving husband and adorable children. This fills me with both pain and comfort. Pain because I lost you, comfort because you have found true happiness. Tessa, I want you to know that being able to love you was the greatest blessing of my life. Though I couldn't stay with you till the end, I will love you forever, until the last moment of my life. Please forget about me and live well, for your own sake and for those who love you. Forever yours, Lukashen." After reading this letter, my tears kept streaming down uncontrollably. "Lukashen, you fool, even in death you were still thinking of me, but you didn't know, even though I chose a new life. I never truly hated you, I just couldn't forgive, couldn't turn back, that's all. Now you're gone, taking all the regrets and unwillingness with you, leaving forever, and I, at last, can truly let go." I tucked the letter away, locking it in the deepest part of the drawer. Then, I walked out of the study to embrace my husband and children. Life must go on, and I must live well for all that I have now. This is the best consolation for the departed and the greatest respect for the living. Lucasian. May you rest in peace in heaven. Our story has come to an end here.